So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of season two of Creator Tea Talk. I actually cannot believe that we're in season two because I remember I took a long hiatus literally because I was tired. So, I'm happy to be rejuvenated again and bring it back. It's very exciting. I am Jayde Powell, and for those that don't know me, I am a marketer and creator, and also your hostess with the mostest. Creator Tea Talk is a series that brings together marketers, creators, influencers, or anyone who's really a little bit of everything to kind of discuss topics relating to the creator economy. And I kicked this series off last December. And since then, we've had so many incredible discussions from mental health and creative block to just exactly how much creators should be getting paid, which I found a lot of creators love that one. Um, since this is since the first season, it's been amazing to see and hear the responses from people just sharing their own insights and just how Creator Tea Talk has educated them on things they didn't know about. And I actually do want to share a quick message that I received earlier this year from someone who attended. Very short and sweet, but impactful. So they said, "Hey Jayde, I just attended your Creator Tea Talk and just have to say thank you so much. I've been hesitant to begin my creator journey, but this conversation just encouraged me to begin." And to me, if that's not the impact of what happens when creators, influencers, and marketers come together to have conversations like this, I really don't know what is. And I also just think it speaks to the need for a space like this to get real, to get the tea. So, with that said, Creator Tea Talk really wouldn't be the show that it is without the incredible panelists who come on to share their expert opinions and also just be open about their experiences. So, again, everyone, welcome to Creator Tea Talk, and I hope you enjoy the show. And now I want to pass it over to the panelists to introduce themselves. Tamika, I want to start with you.
Thank you so much. And that was a really, really great introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Tamika Bazil. I am currently head of artist relations and marketing at Time. But as of yesterday, I actually have a new role at the company overseeing the global social team. So that is very exciting. I have been a creator for about 5 years now and started creating to support my business as a social media manager and as a way to attract clients. And since then, it has grown to so much more. It has led to a career pivot, it has led to brand partnerships, and so much visibility, podcasts, and opportunities to be featured in like different media outlets. So I'm really excited to talk a little bit about that journey today and help others ultimately find themselves in their journey as well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Tamika. Excited to have you. Lindsay, do you want to hop on next?
Sure. First off, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I am the associate director of influencer innovation at a company called Maverick. We're an influencer marketing platform, and my role is really focused on driving innovation within the influencer marketing space. So, helping customers partner with creators on new platforms, or new and emerging platforms such as a LinkedIn, and just really bringing the two sides together to drive value. Outside of my role, I create content around the creator economy, and LinkedIn's been like one of my favorite platforms. But my kind of creator journey started probably about 7 years ago. I used to run a hip hop blog and started writing about the local hip hop scene here in Boston and interviewing artists like Kendrick Lamar and just doing a little bit of everything. And then pivoted towards the social media space where I've been at today.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lindsay. Jesse, you're up.
All right. Hi, everyone. It's fun to be here, and it's cool to be like seeing friends on stage and also in the audience. My name is Jessie Grossman. I'm based here in Brooklyn, New York. I am the founder of an incredible community, and of course, I'm biased, but it's called Women in Influencer Marketing. We've been around since 2017. It's a professional community for those who hire influencers and who advocate for influencers. And we have like a membership and a mentorship program and casting opportunities and a whole bunch of stuff. I'm excited though about this conversation because I'm all about, the just like the realities of what it is to be super active here on LinkedIn. And it's such a cool ecosystem, but I'm obviously preaching to the choir. We're doing this on LinkedIn. So, anyways, I'm excited to be here and thank you, Jade.
Thanks so much, Jesse. All right, Joel.
Hi everyone. Hi. Hello. Hope everyone is doing amazing. My name is Joel. I'm based in Kingston, Jamaica. Well, sometimes, which is kind of interesting because everybody's like, my friends don't call me. And they're like, "Are you here?" And I'm like, "Probably," but it's been kind of cool, and I've been able to chronicle some of those travel in this newsletter that I have on LinkedIn called Travel In. So I write. I work in marketing. I have my own social impact marketing firm in Jamaica. So I pretty much focus on storytelling a lot and community. So brands who work with me, a big part of what I ask them to do is to also give back to the community, and that's been pretty dope. So very happy to be here. Jade and I go way back, so we appreciate each other's work. Funny enough, I met Tamika the other day. We're both LinkedIn top voice contributors, so we were able to network the other day at LinkedIn. So I'm excited to meet everyone else that's in the chat, but also to connect with those who are listening in. Welcome again, everyone, and thanks so much for having me, Jay.
Thank you. John, you're up.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm John Steven Stansel. I'm a freelance social media manager. I work mostly right now in the entertainment industry. I'm currently working on Invincible for Amazon Prime Video. New episode drops tonight. And I've in the past I've worked on the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, the Avatar franchise, several other things. Before that, I was in higher ed working for colleges and various universities and kind of an accidental creator. I just really wanted to get online and I enjoy what I do as a social media manager. I wanted to talk about it and was surprised to find that people wanted to listen. So I've been really active mostly on Twitter, but here in recent, in about the past year and a half.
Uh-oh. I don't know if it's happening on your end, guys, but I think John cut out. Did that happen for anyone
Oh,
else? John, are you there?
yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. I think the last part of
Okay.
what you said cut out. After,
So
after
yes, for about the past year and a half, I've been posting more on LinkedIn, and that's where I am now.
beautiful. Thank you so much. And then certainly last but not least, Aomi.
Hey everyone. Firstly, just want to say thank you, Jade. Thank you for having me. I've been such a fan of Creator Tea Talk for the past year, so I've been dying for season 2 to come back. To everyone else, my name's Ayomi, and I'm the founder of Canopy, which is an anonymous social app for content creators to basically be able to ask questions and sort of spill the tea in about life as a content creator. So talking about things from pay transparency to mental health to brand partnerships to events and everything else in between. I would describe myself as a full-time founder and part-time TikTok creator. My main platforms are TikTok and LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has truly, I hadn't posted on LinkedIn until the start of this year. But LinkedIn has truly sort of changed my whole career trajectory from landing investors, mentors, partners, meeting creators who have now joined my app. So LinkedIn has definitely been a huge game changer for me. And in a previous life, I used to work at TikTok and then at Jelly Smack. And I actually landed my role at Jelly Smack through a LinkedIn DM. So LinkedIn has been really good to me. So I'm excited to talk about it today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So, y'all, as you can see, we have some hot girls on this panel. Hot girls is gender inclusive. And I'm very excited to have everyone talk today. So, let's just jump into this. I actually want to start with some origin stories. Why did you guys begin creating on LinkedIn? Does anyone want to take that first?
I'll I'll jump in. I think that I started creating on here first not knowing that I really could. I think that like I always appreciated and respected sort of the art of networking and like what really comes from that. And LinkedIn is a really cool place for the creator economy that a lot of people are actually really active on there. Like my background was representing actors and like no one from that world was on here. So once you're in the creator economy and you see there's a lot of chatter, I think I was just like inspired to like, oh, you can have a voice on here. Like, oh, this isn't just for like DMs. Like it's you can sort of publicly put your thoughts out there, like be a thought leader. And It's an interesting format, right? Because like I have a podcast and that's like it's a very different thing. Obviously on LinkedIn, there's like LinkedIn audio, there's newsletters. LinkedIn is one of the only places where a post shows the text first when there's an image attached to it. So it's very much about thoughts first. And I don't know, I found that really appealing. What about you guys?
I would have to agree. I I think, and I would love to hear from the rest of the panel as well, but I think that my experience with LinkedIn is really different in the sense that just career wise and professionally, I started my career in higher education. I was in education for about 7 years. And LinkedIn was not necessarily a platform that we used very often. And I also was someone who kept my social media life and my professional life vastly separated. Like and I think that was because of my experience in education. I didn't want my students to know, what I was doing in my personal life, and I most certainly did not want my colleagues to know anything about who I was outside of work. Like so I didn't fully understand the concept of LinkedIn until I decided to make a career pivot. So I pivoted in 2021 after building my personal brand on Instagram. I had a business on the side outside of what I was doing in education. So I was very familiar with being a creator, very familiar with social media as a whole, but just wasn't very trusting of LinkedIn as a platform because of the nuance between what a professional social media platform was like. Like to me, those were very oxymoronic. So after really getting to know LinkedIn and really being strategic about what sort of content I was ingesting on the platform, I really found my voice here. So, and I would have to echo Jesse in also saying that finding your voice and at least for me, finding my voice was also really great because it wasn't a platform that required me to show my face as much. And instead, it allowed me to use my words and story tell and really outline my experiences so that other people could read and ingest that versus having to create high production content in order for that to perform. And as somebody who was transitioning from Instagram to LinkedIn, that was very much a very big reprieve. And to this day, that's a big reason why I continue to create on the platform because I can ironically through text show up more as myself than I would say through like video or pictures or anything of that nature. And I think that also has to do with being a woman, right? Like we have a lot more responsibility in terms of showing up a certain way, quote unquote. So I think that LinkedIn really gave me a big reprieve in that regard. And I've been really enjoying it ever since.
So that's something I actually want to touch on, Tamika, because you mentioned briefly about not trusting the platform completely. And one thing I will say, and I've posted this on LinkedIn before, is that I actually used to go on Twitter and talk about how much I hated LinkedIn, which is so ironic for me now because I use it so frequently. I was like the biggest hater. If they had one hater, I was it. And I think now it has posting on the platform more frequently has really changed my mindset about what we can accomplish on LinkedIn. And I think something that really hinders people, especially Gen Z and younger millennials, is that they have this view that LinkedIn is such a strictly professional app, so you can't show up as a creator. So my question for you guys is like, what do you think LinkedIn can do to kind of appeal to upcoming creators or creators who have already established themselves on other platforms?
I I honestly think that's such a good question, Jade, because they have programs that are currently aimed at doing that. But what LinkedIn needs to do is to tap into fully into that diversity and inclusion statement that they keep using. Meaning there are creators who live outside of the United States and North America and Europe. Case in point from Jamaica, from Trinidad, from Barbados, from West Africa, and I think because of that missing aspect, it's still seen as a platform that is still kind of like getting there with creator content or creator investment. I think I've seen a huge jump in the investment that they've been making over the past 2 years, especially at the start of the pandemic. Issuing creator accelerator funding and that kind of thing. And I've seen a couple people who have done well, with some of those investments from LinkedIn. But again, it needs to go beyond the borders of where they think the world is and where the world revolves. And I think they'd see some incredible results if programs like those are extended, because you have folks who are really creating amazing content and live outside of the USA, or where the predominant offices are. And the stupid excuse I keep hearing is, oh, um, market viability and investment. If we get 0.003% of their marketing budget, I'm sure we'll be able to make some really significant strides here. And I mean, that's the only other way they'll be able to continue to grow the platform in those regions, because if you don't invest in it, it's not there. So to be honest, I think they have taken a good approach. I've seen roles, because I observe a lot on LinkedIn. I've seen roles that are geared towards investing in creators. I've seen where there are different sectors that they've created, whether it's in health and wellness or beauty. So I'm seeing more people coming over. We've seen the waves of celebrities joining as well. We've seen Gabriel Union. We see Jessica Alba over here as well. And it's cool because those people also have a business side. So they're making the investment. I just think they need to extend pretty much.
I would just add to that as well. I definitely agree with those sentiments as well. I think it also comes down to monetization, which is obviously a hot topic for all content creators right now. And I don't think any platform has really figured out what creator monetization looks like outside of YouTube. But when you think about it, I think what the stats are, 4% of LinkedIn users make all like 90 the rest of the content on the platform. So there's a very small concentration, and right now there isn't much of an incentive other than reach to be posting on LinkedIn. And when there's so much competition for creators on where they could post, where they could share their messaging, I think creator monetization, having more educational accelerator programs, as mentioned, I think those would really encourage people to start posting on the app and incentivize creators to do so.
I Yeah, I totally agree with that. For me, I think LinkedIn has really done an awesome job, and I've been creating content on LinkedIn for like 5 or 6 years, and have been able to really see the evolution. And the more I've seen them lean into creators, the more I've kind of invested in it. And so I think what's really unique about LinkedIn, like, of course, every platform can do more things, especially when it comes to monetization. And I think that's kind of like the buzz thing, right? We want all the platforms to pay us as creators. And I totally understand that. But for me personally, what I think about LinkedIn is that, like, it's a place to be able to create those opportunities. And so for me, I'm going to post content on LinkedIn regardless, because it's been able to help me grow my career, promotions, different roles, speaking opportunities, and also being able to monetize through consulting and brand partnerships. And so while LinkedIn isn't playing a direct role in paying me, it does provide that platform and the audience for me to kind of go out and monetize. I think what's really great is that, you could be a TikTok creator, a YouTube creator, an Instagram creator, and you could repurpose your content. It might not be received well depending on the topic, but now that they have the ability to really designate the content format on your profile, it's really bringing out the visual aspect. And so it's a little easier for creators from those native platforms to make the leap to LinkedIn. What I would ask LinkedIn to do is just really continue to listen to user feedback from creators, and also highlight some of those use cases, right? So it's really easy for a lot of us on here to understand the value of LinkedIn because we're in the B2B space, but showing more use cases of a TikTok creator that creates content around lifestyle, travel, or one of those kind of traditional social media topics, and be able to show the use case from how they've been able to monetize, how they've been able to create content, and really just kind of make it easier for more people to see it.
Beautiful. One of the things I want to ask, especially Amy and Lindsay, you guys kind of both alluded to it and talked a little bit about monetization. And I feel like this brings me to a question that I feel like a lot of creators who are listening would have, especially because it's a topic that is highly discussed when we talk about the creator economy in general. How much should creators get paid for LinkedIn content? And I'm also curious if you guys are finding that you're getting paid to post on LinkedIn, or are you getting paid opportunities out of posting on LinkedIn, or both?
Um, I'll start here. So I do get paid to post content on LinkedIn. I do have a few
Period.
brand partnerships. And when it comes to pay transparency, I know that this is a very fine line to navigate. But I do appreciate being transparent about money and opportunity and how other people can leverage opportunity. So I currently charge $350 per post for a post on LinkedIn. I came to that number after charging less and not getting any pushback. And I was like, oh, no talk back. That definitely means I'm not charging enough. So that's how I learn in terms of how I show up as a creator. So there's a good chance that that number might change. I also will have to say that I'm also very intentional about what sort of opportunities I leverage on LinkedIn, right? So as a creator, it's also important for you to know and understand that your audience is your pot of gold. It's your bread and butter. Like, these are people who have trusted you with their knowledge base, with like their understanding of whatever your niche is. Like, they look to you for support, they look to you for education and inspiration and entertainment. So I think it's very important as a creator to also understand that like brand partnerships should never supersede like what is best for your audience, because you have done your due diligence to grow your audience intentionally. And 350 for a post is not worth losing my audience's trust. So
Tea.
although I have, yes, I appreciate it. Although I have monetized in this way, those brand partnerships do get a lot of scrutiny before they pass go, at least in how I operate.
I would definitely second that. I actually, in fact, for that very reason, haven't done any paid partnerships on LinkedIn yet, because the opportunities that have come across my table have not been ones that I think that my audience would value, and they didn't seem very aligned to my content niche and to sort of my personal values as well in terms of what I'm talking about. And I knew that it wouldn't resonate with my audience. So as you said, it's not worth it, for $350 to kind of devalue that relationship you do have with your audience. So I haven't monetized from the platform currently, but I would say that to Lindsay's point earlier, I've definitely got a lot of opportunities from the platform that have led to monetization. I was actually able to land one of my investors for my startup through LinkedIn, and things like that. So there's definitely been other ways of monetizing and receiving opportunities, but not directly monetizing from like ads on the platform.
I can jump in. So I've been able to do a little bit of both. I would say, to me, what is most valuable, and again, knowing that I work at 9 to 5, and that's kind of that helps me live. Um, the opportunities to speak and go to conferences and consult and those are more valuable to me. But I would say the last couple of months I have partnered with more brands, but it's a lot. I've worked with brands on Instagram and like the lifestyle outdoor hiking space, and to me, it's to work with a brand on LinkedIn. It definitely has to be the right fit, because the content I put out, it's really about providing value. And so once I start promoting something that I don't believe in or doesn't really fit with my content, I lose that audience. And to me, the most important thing is putting out good content in audience and not necessarily monetizing it. And so when I am partnering with these brands, I'm making sure that it's at a good price point, usually starting at the 4 figures, but also, um, incorporating, standard LinkedIn post by newsletter, but also if there's opportunities to provide feedback and deliver on that sponsorship in addition to the content. What is really interesting is so early. It's like hard to really understand what the right price point is on LinkedIn versus a TikTok or Instagram, because if you think about TikTok, it's all video, whether it's short form video or long form video. And there's kind of some benchmarks with some of the apps out there with the platforms. And on LinkedIn, the integrations that you typically see can be so multifaceted. It could be us as creators providing some consulting in addition to promoting a product, in addition to affiliate link, in addition to speaking engagement. And so you can really get creative and really have partnerships that are truly partnerships and not just one-off sponsored posts. And then just to finish up there's a lot of things I have to say no to just because they conflict with my job. So, other influence marketing platforms want me to promote their platforms. I obviously can't do that working for a influence marketing platform, and just things that kind of interfere with, my day-to-day job. So That's also something I would think about as a creator that also has a job in creating content around their industry.
Yes. That's all I have to say about that.
Did anyone else want to add anything to that?
I'll just chime in just to say, like this is I was a talent manager for many, many, many years. So this is probably that part of my brain speaking, but like there are just so many ways to do a partnership on LinkedIn. I think that most of us who work in the creator economy, like the most traditional way, of course, is like a brand promoting a thing that you were selling, right? But like right now, I'm working with a with like a conference who is paying my airfare, paying my hotel, giving me a booth worth, a lot of thousands of dollars in exchange for content. Um, but it's usually for me, it's usually not just LinkedIn. Usually LinkedIn is like a component of it. And so like, yes, absolutely, like make your money. I do think that there's a pretty like multifaceted like equation that will get you to what that number is. I don't really personally believe in like flat rates for things, but it's a whole other conversation. Get into it later if you like. But I also just want to say like there are lots of other things that can be exchanged of value that aren't necessarily money being exchanged that can be almost just as if not even more valuable because LinkedIn is this really unique place where there's a lot of things to of value here. And I think that it's like sort of looking outside the box a bit. You can find some really interesting things. And I guess the last thing I'll say too is like maybe I'm very fortunate, but one of the companies that I've been working with now for the past, I don't know, it's like a 6-month deal. And we're doing some posts on LinkedIn and elsewhere. They're very open in terms of like what do you want to create, so like while the brand might not initially seem like a fit, hear them out because they might be one of the good ones which would come to you and say your audience, or you tell us what you want to do, and might be very collaborative. So to keep an open mind, because for me I always think that the posts that are going to go over the best are ones that like give value, whether it's like a simple like a coupon code or a link to a resource or something like that. And so that's what we've been doing for this past one, and it's been cool. And I've also been like utilizing, like I have this like bot that's like probably against terms of service, so I don't, maybe I shouldn't promote it, but there's like a Google Chrome plugin that will let you like automate direct messages here on LinkedIn. And so when I do the sponsored post, I also send people a DM to like share that, information or whatever it is that's part of the brand sponsorship. So there's lots of areas of LinkedIn where you can talk about all sorts of stuff.
Come on, Jesse, with the tea. Thank you for that.
Anytime.
Really appreciate that. It's interesting because, and you talked about this, Jesse, there is a lot of value in what LinkedIn has to offer creators on the platform because there's so many types of content that you can create on this platform. You can do the traditional posting route, you can create newsletters, you can do live events like Creator Tea Talk. And it's actually funny because even thinking about my own brand partnerships on LinkedIn, Creator Tea Talk came to life because of a brand partnership. I was partnering with Sprout Social earlier last year, and we had a year-long contract, and I was thinking about this in concept. Literally sent them the most ratchet pitch deck ever that I've ever put together because they were just like, do it. And I was like, okay, don't have to yell. And I remember in the process of ideating Creator Tea Talk, it was just literally an idea. I had what I wanted fleshed out, but I didn't know what it's going to be called or where I wanted to host it. And they were the ones that actually told me about LinkedIn audio events. So even just for me, not necessarily getting paid to post on LinkedIn, but I do find that posting on LinkedIn helps me get a visibility that I wouldn't on necessarily on other platforms, and therefore am able to get paid partnerships. And even just recently, I spoke at a virtual conference, and because I believe in paid transparency as well, I got paid $2,500 for that just to talk for 15 minutes. Love that for me. So, with that said, I do want to go into another question that I have because, again, newsletters, audio lives, posts, it all looks very different on LinkedIn. So, what does your LinkedIn content actually look like?
Whatever's performing well. That I'm not gonna lie, like, I feel like, look, real talk, like, I have my preference of what I wanna put out there, and sometimes I'm, like, not in the mood. So sometimes it's short and sweet. But then, what motivates you on any social platform? It's like when your stuff gets, reactions to it and gets people talking and gets people buzzing. I mean, that's just my truth at least. So, like, so on our Instagram, for example, and I'll bring this back to LinkedIn in a second, like our reels do not perform for us. It's so funny because it does for everybody else. For us, it's carousels. And I have a lot of reasons of why I think that is, but I try to bring that over to LinkedIn, which you can do as like a document. It's like a PDF and you upload that and it looks like a carousel. It's so silly. It's so LinkedIn. But they don't perform well for us over here. So like on LinkedIn for us, I love LinkedIn audios. I don't do them enough, but I love them. So when Jade, you were like, you want to do it? I was like, yes, girl. Yes, yes, yes. I love these. But I find that, you know, not too long and not too short, text based and like a photo performs really well. And in terms of what to talk about, the content that feels the most therapeutic and the content that performs the best is when I'm talking about some pretty personal stuff. I just shared about like fertility challenges on here and it got a lot of traction and a lot of messages. And, I try to bring it back to work or I try to bring it back to the creator economy in some way, but it's always those personal shares that do the best.
I definitely have to agree. And definitely to an extent, right? Like, so if there's anything I've learned about me as a creator, is that my style for creating depends on where I'm at in life in a lot of different ways. When I was in education and I was a creator on the side, that was a reprieve for me from what I was doing on a regular basis. So I was more than happy to show up on camera, create reels, be silly, like be extra, like do kind of like that Instagram specific sort of content, because that was just so vastly different from what I was doing in my day to day that it felt more open and inviting, and a place for me to more casually be myself versus who I was 50, 60 hours a week when I was in those roles. Now that I am doing social media full time, I recognize now that that does not work for me anymore. Like, I highly doubt that I will ever post a video to LinkedIn unless it's like a snippet of a podcast that I've done or something of that nature. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Like, I am trying to survive. A lot of my creative output is going towards my work at time. And, they pay the bills, they sign the checks. Like, I want to show up as creative as possible for them. So, my bread and butter on LinkedIn is very much text posts. And, anybody who follows my content also knows that I'm in the field of emerging technology. So, I will very much take a little picture, a little selfie, and I'll run that through AI. And now I have a full face of makeup and a little bit of lip gloss, and I look like I woke up like this. Okay. So that is really how I show up on LinkedIn because that is how I've learned to be able to not only protect my peace, but also protect my time and my creative output so I can still show up authentically for my audience without having to overexert myself. Or be somebody that I'm not. And again, like that can change if my profession changes or if how much time I'm spending creating for my work changes. But I think that it's very important for any creator to be able to find what works for them and what they can reasonably be consistent with versus trying to show up in ways that don't work for their lives.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think there's a lot. I think one thing that prevents people from creating content on LinkedIn is this idea that LinkedIn content has to look a certain way, or you have to talk a certain way. For a long time, people were criticizing the quote unquote broetry of LinkedIn. And yeah, it can be a little cringy, but you don't need to talk like that. You can keep it short and sweet. You can make it sound like you. The reason I started creating on LinkedIn, honestly, was I was more active over on Twitter, and every so often I would have a tweet go off and somebody would DM me and go, "Hey, somebody just copied and pasted your tweet onto LinkedIn and credited themselves for it. They didn't credit you." So I was like, man, you know what I'm going to start doing? I'm just going to start beating them to the punch. And I started just copying and pasting my Twitter content over to LinkedIn. And then I started to notice, oh, I was getting a reaction, and started to kind of develop. I've got more than 280 characters. I can expand on some of these ideas a little bit more, and get to the point where you kind of develop your own voice, and that is unique to you. So I think, if anybody's thinking about becoming a LinkedIn creator, just being a little bit more active on there, don't feel that you have to, use all the corporate jargon and lingo. And honestly, I think that detracts. I think that hurts you more than it helps you. Just get up on there and be yourself. And I like to say, on social media in general, but LinkedIn more so, I'm professionally authentic. Where I and this is kind of a privileged stance of where I am in my career, but if you don't agree with what I have to say on LinkedIn or any social platform, we're probably not going to work well together. So it's probably for the best. But don't let anybody tell you that LinkedIn content has to be a certain thing.
Period. Thank you, John. Because I feel the exact same way. I think even in my own LinkedIn journey, just again going from talking shit about it on Twitter to using it and clearly promoting a whole episode about it. LinkedIn, please hire me. I think my whole opinion has changed just because I really started thinking about how I wanted to show up on LinkedIn. And it was an adjustment for me because I think the reason why I felt so negatively about it before was because it really felt to me like people were kind of talking to each other like robots. It was all this like corporate speak, corporate jargon. And I'm just like, I'm a Black girl from Atlanta. I don't want to talk to anybody like this. So the moment I started showing up exactly as myself and showing that who I am in real life is exactly who you're going to get online, of course, with some boundaries. That really started benefiting me the most. So I think for any creators on that are listening in, if you are considering LinkedIn and you're hesitant, just know that it's really not that deep. Just show up exactly how you want to show up. And if it doesn't work for you, you don't have to be on the platform. And if it does work for you, I hope you get your pockets full and I hope you get the reach that you want, because it really is a great platform that can bring in a lot of great opportunity for you and your pockets, and just really help you establish your personal brand and, of course, make connections. With that said, we have about 15 minutes left, and I want to give some time for the listeners to ask questions or even share their own insights. So, if there's anyone that would like to say anything, you can raise your hand and I will pull you up to the main chat and you can speak.
While we wait for folks to hop up, if
Mm,
I might add one thing to what you were saying, Jade.
please
um,
do.
and this is a recent anecdote, which is why it's kind of in my head right now. But I work for 100-year-old organization, right? That is a very, very old number. And I recently learned that I'm a zillennial, a cusper. I had no idea. I was devastated. But as a zillennial, I think that we also have this really great opportunity to really redefine what corporate work looks like for us. And as somebody who was very afraid of what that blurred line between like professional and like being on authentic on social media when I was in education, it's ironic to me that I even work for such an old prestigious organization and I'm now creator on LinkedIn. But my LinkedIn has become a conversation, right? But it was my responsibility to lead that conversation in the direction that it would go. So, for anybody who really wants to be a creator on LinkedIn, I implore you to also be ready to stand 10 toes down on your content and how you authentically show up on this platform. And of course, within reason, right? There are people who, I mean, there's always going to be things that show up on LinkedIn where I'm like, it could never be me. But I know that I show up in a way where my organization should not feel any type of way about what I'm posting, but I'm also still showing up in a way that feels good and authentic to me. So when it does come up in conversations, it is up to us to guide our supervisors and our organizations in a direction where we can peacefully coexist, because we deserve to be able to peacefully coexist and show up authentically, because we are not who we work for. Like, we are not the organizations that we work for. So for anyone who is navigating that, I also want to say that this is something that I'm continuously navigating as well. I'm still learning. Although I am a creator, that will also be something that you find as well, that you will always be learning, but just be ready to stand 10 toes down on what you want for your life.
Period. Thank you. And I completely agree. Echoing that in every sense. Thank you so much, lady. So we have some people in the audience that I've pulled up. Gisele, to start with you, if you have any insights you want to share or questions.
Yeah, definitely. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here. And the fact that we have LinkedIn creators like as a thing is so amazing. I'm proud of all of you guys. And even for me, it's really exciting to be a part of this journey. I went to a panel recently, and someone in the panel was asking the audience, how many people spend like 5 minutes on LinkedIn, and everybody raised their hand. And once they said like, how many people spend 1 to 2 hours on LinkedIn, there was a lot of people that were like, ugh, like, so it was really funny to see like how LinkedIn was once seen as this like fuddy-duddy, professional resume thing, and it's evolved into a sense of personal branding. And one of the things that I more of a insight than question is one of the most exciting parts is seeing people put their personality together. Jade, I know you spoke about that earlier, like you're like, I don't, talk, in this certain way. I'm from Georgia. Like there's a way that I go about it. And for me, I'm a woman from the Bronx. I'm a Black woman from the Bronx. So I show up as that every single step of the way. And I love seeing how people are incorporating their backgrounds and their personalities into this and showing that like like multiple things can exist at the same time. You can be multifaceted. I'm still a professional, even if I'm like, y'all, what's this? This is not, speaking in a certain way. And yeah, it's just really exciting to hear that. And I guess I wanted to also ask you guys, like, how do you explain LinkedIn to people that are not so into it? And how do you encourage them to remain authentic on the platform?
I definitely love to hop in on that because I get that question every day. Because as I said before, I work with a lot of creators, and a big part of me talking to them is like, "Hey guys, get on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn," and they're like, "Why should I get there?" And then I think one of the biggest thing for me is in explaining that is really the networking value. And I know that you get networking value from other platforms, but there's this opportunity that LinkedIn presents when you make a post. There are so many other people who are not necessarily connected to you who are able to see it. So the first thing I normally explain to them is that reach, in terms of that organic reach that you can get. And sometimes again, the personas and the audience that's on LinkedIn, again, business minded, who are looking for partnerships, who are sometimes ready to spend, it provides a significant opportunity. I've seen photographers, videographers who are in the creative field who do very well because they post their work here. And there's a brand that's looking for a photographer for a campaign or someone to build out a strategy deck. It's kind of like Fiverr in real life. It's just that you're able to get that direct link to them. Like any other platform, I also explain to folks that every platform has its challenges. I'm sure all the other speakers here experience the LinkedIn creeps. You get some random message, "Oh my God, you look so handsome today." You're like, "What?" No, like this is not the place for it. And there are those challenges that a lot of people face. But like that, people sliding your DMs anyway on Instagram or on Twitter. Well, now X or Facebook, people poking you over Facebook. So my thing is, there are a lot of disadvantages as well that are similar across the board. But the main thing I normally maintain is one, that potential to reach people, reach strangers that you don't know. because they see a feel good story. Also, LinkedIn thrives off feel good stories. If you post a graduation picture, you might get 1,000 likes. If you post that marketing is great, you may not get none. And I also try to explain to them, get rid of the metrics. Don't look at the vanity metrics. Don't consider, things like this post is not performing. LinkedIn is not the place for that. You may get one interaction today, you may get 1,000 tomorrow, you may get 1,000,000 of just one thing that is so relatable. But that's really how I try to explain it. One, the reach. Two, the fact that you will meet people who have that purchasing decision power. Three, again, it's becoming a creator's haven. And four, just do what you need to do. There's no pressure. Some people, I think one of the downfall is as well is that people think that LinkedIn is too overly populated with people who post their good days and, oh my God, I just got a job, and oh, I was recently promoted at work. But I also see so many other content. People are like, hey, I just got laid off, I'm looking for my next opportunity. Hi, I've been without a job for 8 months. Can you share this in your network and see how that can help? So I just think when you compare the good and the bad, and when I look at all these social media platforms, that's why I have a bigger community on LinkedIn, because of the value I've seen.
One thing I can add is that the way I look at LinkedIn is the opportunity to really take your career into your own hands. And so looking at most people on here, it seems like most of us probably have a corporate job or some type of full-time job. As much as I love sharing content and using it as a creative outlet, the reason why I continue to invest in it is to have more control of my career. I think with the situation going on, from the job space, you could get laid off or fired or let go at any time. And when I got laid off at my previous job, when I worked at an influencer marketing agency, I kind of said to myself that I would never solely rely on my resume. And so, yes, I have my resume, but I want to build my own kind of resume through LinkedIn, because when you only focus on your job, the people within your company, maybe your partners, know the value of what you bring to the table. But when you share those experiences or double down on that expertise in external platforms like LinkedIn, you really create a ton of opportunities, and you also have more flexibility and control. I would hate to get laid off from my job, but I feel comfortable knowing that a platform like LinkedIn and a network I've been able to build just by posting consistently, just by mingling with people, I probably would be able to bounce back pretty quickly. So just as great as LinkedIn is for monetizing, building up an audience, also think about it as a way to really kind of bulletproof your career and your aspirations and accelerate that at the same time.
John, I absolutely love that. I think that's incredibly true. I feel like with my LinkedIn journey, I've been able to do multiple career pivots genuinely because of the power of LinkedIn. And I know on the LinkedIn page you have your experience, but I actually just ignore that. Like, I never look at someone's experience on their LinkedIn page, and I have not updated mine. What I look at is what people have been posting, which is actually above experience. And I see that as my personal brand and personal resume, the topics I'm talking about, my ups, my downs. It's not just a highlight reel. It's also just, it's my authentic self. And I feel like these pivots have only been enabled because I've shared all of myself, the good times and the terrible times when things have gone wrong and I got laid off and whatever else. And I think that's really built my audience because people are with me on this journey. So I think it's a really powerful platform, especially if you're thinking of career pivoting, to start sowing those seeds. Just because you're in a job today that might be, I don't know, about marketing, but you want to get into a job about something else, then start sowing those seeds, start posting about those other topics. And, suddenly you'll start noticing people in those spaces start to notice you and connect with you and, get opportunities like this to speak on, panels like this. So I think definitely sharing more of yourself and also the things you're manifesting can genuinely come true on LinkedIn.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, y'all. Giselle, do you feel like you got your questions answered?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. I love to hear it. Thank you. All right. So now we have Jasmine Goodwin. I think we have time for her question, and that might be it, depending on how long the panelists answer. Hint, hint. But Jasmine, please go ahead with your question.
Yes, thank you all so much. This is really, really great, inspiring, and insightful. My question is kind of expanding on what you all talked about in terms of the authenticity, sort of the opportunities and the network you've built through being a creator on LinkedIn. Can you talk more about how that has, like, when it comes to creators, like monetization and partnerships and working with brands and different things like that also sometimes comes into the conversation. So I'm curious what your experiences have been with that as a LinkedIn content creator, being able to tap into maybe monetizing your personal brand, or just getting opportunities or engagements and things like that from just how you show up on LinkedIn, what you share on LinkedIn, and things like that.
I'll start. So I predominantly have monetized my personal brand through speaker opportunities and brand partnerships. I am pretty confident that that is as far as I will go to monetize my personal brand. Although, with social media and the creator economy, things are still evolving and I recognize that. But I think I'm pretty comfortable in how I've been able to show up thus far. Another area that I am comfortable saying that I have quote unquote monetized my personal brand is as a corporate employee. I think that my content also serves as formal case studies into my expertise, even within my role and within my job. And I think that that's also important for higher ups to see, because and I'm gonna be blunt here, especially for people of color and women and people of marginalized identities. A lot of the time, we try to let our resume speak for our set for us, and that doesn't work for us. So we need to also take back our reputations and show up in ways that highlight our expertise in our areas of knowledge in diverse ways, and that is a tributary of monetization in and of itself. So I'll end with that.
Speak, Tamika. Does anyone else have anything they want to add?
I can just add. We already talked about brand partnerships, so I'll leave that alone. But access is also one, right? Like you put out content and people see it. It's a little easier to break through the noise and break through getting in front of those people you want, and that could lead to opportunities to monetize or other things you want to do with your career.
And just like perception, I as well. I mean, it's not something that's like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's a proud thing to say, like, oh, it's so important how people perceive you, but like that's just kind of the world that we live in. And I just think like it would be wise of all of us to sort of like lean into that and just utilize, like, just play the game, because if you're all principled or whatever, then you're just gonna lose out. And that's how the world is. So I do think that perception matters. I think that like your network determines your net worth. I really do believe that. I also think your network sort of determines your mental health as well. I think just like finding a really cool group of people to surround yourself with will inspire you, will help you in so many different ways. So I'm definitely going off on a tangent here, but just a few thoughts I wanted to share.
Thank you, Jesse. I mean, I think that is the crux of this conversation, right? Like, community is everything. And I think one of the beautiful things about being in the creator economy space is that people actually do want to connect with each other. One, because it's part of our job. And two, I think it's just kind of like a natural way for us to hear about opportunities. And I think of the thing about LinkedIn, like any other platform, is you kind of have to put yourself out there to get a hold of those potential opportunities that could be waiting for you. So I really want to encourage everyone, like, just start, post your shit. There's really nothing that is stopping you from posting, and unless it's just like, circumstantial situations, but there's nothing really stopping you um than really you. So you have to get out of your own way and just remove that fear of, what people are going to think or what people are going to say about your content, or that fear of that people aren't going to engage with your content at all, because at the end of the day it doesn't really matter. I think you will find that there is a lot of reward in putting yourself out there and showing people who you are, because the last thing you want is for other people to speak on behalf of you. take control of that, brand voice, especially if it's your personal brand, and just put your content out there. Um, and on that note, I think that's a great way to wrap up. So, thank you so much to everyone for attending Creator Tea Talk. Again, I'm so excited to be back for season 2. And I really appreciate you all being so open to this conversation. Um, I feel like I learned a lot, even as someone who posts on LinkedIn pretty often and just as a creator in general. And of course, I want to thank all of my amazing panelists for offering their insights. Like, as you guys were talking, I was like getting chills. I was like, ooh, what icons. So please be sure to give everyone a follow. They didn't consent to that, but I'm telling y'all to do it anyways. Give them a follow because it will be worth it. And additionally, if you'd like a replay of this episode, I will be uploading it to the Creator Tea Talk website early next week. So that's creatorteatalk.com. And then finally, for updates on Creator Tea Talk, you can subscribe to Loose Leaf, which is the cutest newsletter name ever, if you ask me. The Creator Tea Talk newsletter at creatorteatalk.com. So again, thank you so much for joining. So thank you so much for listening and taking the time out of your day. I really appreciate you guys for showing up. And if you guys have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to the panelists and myself. I hope you all enjoy your evening.